Hey, 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 everybody. We're the Serious Film Critics. We are back for episode 32. This is actual episode 32. I believe I said that for the last episode, but just a post-correction there. My name is Sam.
And I'm David.
Alrighty, man. How you doing on this fine Tuesday evening?
Pretty good. Saw that Aaron Rodgers got that giant contract extension.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy about that. It's a lot of money. I actually read a stat. He actually makes... someone did the math on this. He makes $1 every second of the day. That's unbelievable. But I don't know. I think he's completely worth it. So I will take it.
Yeah, I think that. I guess the deal they said, especially in a couple of years, it's going to be like a pretty standard quarterback deal. But how do you feel about Khalil Mack going to the Bears?
That does not make me happy, and I did not see that coming. There was actually a lot of speculation about him going to Green Bay, which I was going to be really excited about.
Yeah, so I don't think that they could have paid him that much money.
I guess it's because Rodgers just got his deal. They couldn't afford to sign, a max contract kind of guy like Khalil Mack. But seeing him go to the Bears was the opposite of what I wanted to see. Not that it worries me, because I still think we're going to crush the Bears both times, but it's annoying. I don't like it. That pisses me off.
Yeah,
kind of a rough start for John Gruden too in Oakland to have Khalil Mack leave.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. A lot of people are giving him shit, but I kind of feel like he was probably like, I'm not going to pay this guy this obscene amount of money, even though that deal is going to hurt the market because everybody's going to expect that much.
Yeah, that's true. And I got to say, their defense wasn't even very good with Khalil Mack there.
Oh, yeah, so I know. Like, they need him.
I don't know. So, I mean, they need him, but it's like, how much worse will it get? I mean, it already was bad, so unless it just gets horrible. But I don't know. We'll see. But football season is 2 days away. Are you pumped?
Yeah, I guess. Well, who's playing the first night?
I'm very excited. I know all this talk about football might be gone in 10 years, but maybe I'm just living it up while I can. But I think it's the Falcons and the Eagles open it.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently Nick Foles is starting for the Eagles, so I don't know what's going on there. I guess Carson Wentz is still lingering injuries or something.
Yeah, I guess they're waiting until he's really, really ready.
Yeah, man, that's an awkward situation. Like, what if Nick Foles plays like the first 2 or 3 games and he's lights out? Like,
I think it's going to be like with New England, where they're going to try and I bet they probably are for sure getting rid of Foles, and they're probably just going to try and up his value.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess maybe they would just sell him off if he plays really well, and maybe they could get like a first-round pick or something. But I don't know. It's exciting. It's 2 days away. I just had my fantasy draft for my little one money league that I do, so I'm pretty happy with my team, and I'm pretty got David Johnson, and I was gonna get Aaron Rodgers in the second round, but my guy Bepler freaking stole him from me. So
who'd you take in the first round?
That David Johnson guy, that running back. Yeah, I'm not thrilled about it, but he's one of those guys that he's just really good, and like it's a PPR league, he catches the ball a lot, and he's projected in everything I see like a first or second pick overall, and I got him 6th. So that's
pretty good.
Take him. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then I got who else did I got? I got Devontae Adams, which I'm happy about, and that Juju Smith-Schuster for the Steelers, who's pretty good. I got that Patriots running back Rex Burkhead, who just Patriots running backs always just get a lot of fantasy points. Like, they're no-name guys, but they always just catch like 5 passes every game for 50 yards and a touchdown. So that's pretty good. Yeah, it should be a good season. But do you have a Super Bowl prediction since we're starting it up?
Oh, man. No. I'll do one soon. Not right now, because I don't know anything about the league right now.
Yeah, we'll get to that later. But
I'll say the Cowboys probably aren't going.
I don't know, man. It's tough to say. They just don't have any receivers. Like, I don't. Is that Alan Hearn's guy or whatever? Is he? I guess he's supposed to be there.
Whatever they do, like, apparently they have a lot of faith in their group right now, because I mean they just got rid of. I think they got rid of somebody else too.
And Jason Witten retired, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean they have a bunch of new receivers. I mean, but I don't know. I guess they have faith in them.
Yeah, I guess they're just going to hand off the ball to Zeke Elliott.
Yeah, I know. They better hope he doesn't get suspended again.
Yeah, seriously. Well, all right, we have a pretty decently big episode here. We're going to be doing some What We Watch. We have a new segment featuring First Man, which is coming out later in the year, a little bit of controversy, and then we're going to be reviewing Searching, the new movie starring John Cho. So solid episode, and I don't know, man. I guess we can jump right into it unless you have anything else.
No. Let's get into it before people get bored.
Yeah. All right. What have you been watching lately?
I actually watched. It's from the same guy that did Bone Tomahawk. Did you see Brawl in Cell Block 99?
I didn't see it. I wanted to, but I didn't realize it was by the Bone Tomahawk guy.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, this definitely has some similarities. A lot of them.
Man, I still think about that gory death scene in Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. It's definitely one of the rougher ones.
Yeah, but how was it?
It was really good. There was one thing that just like bothered me a little bit. Apparently, it was just supposed to be like a kind of like a grindhouse film, and basically, like he goes to prison because he's a drug runner and he refuses to snitch. And then they're like, he's in there like, all right, you got to go get transferred to another prison, and then you got to get transferred to their worst cell block and kill some guy. So he has to like, the first prison is like a minimum security one or something, and like he literally is such a good fighter that like he doesn't go down unless he wants to. He just like it fights the guards and he just beats the crap out of them, and he can't be stopped. He literally lets them take him down.
Oh man!
So then he goes to the next prison.
Is Vince Vaughn the main guy?
Yeah, he's Vince Vaughn, and they always are like, all of them are like complimenting how big and strong he is, and like he's in pretty good shape in the movie, but he's not like
Vince Vaughn. Yeah, not even close.
Yeah, so then he goes to the next prison, and I think he kills one of the guards there. Maybe he puts him in the hospital. So then they put him in the cell block, and he finds out it's all a hoax. And I guess I'll spoil it, but basically he just kills everybody, and then finally he lets the guards kill him. But it's kind of bugged me because I'm pretty sure he could have literally punched his way out of the first prison, because like the guards are just like they're like ants to him, and he's like stepping on them.
So is it grounded in any kind of realism, or is he just?
I mean, it is grounded in realism. It's just like he can take an unlimited amount of punishment, and the best part is like it's like he's holding back all film, and then the last part there's like a gang in the prison, and they're the ones that have been screwing with him, and he goes to kill them, and I mean he just destroys them. Like the one guy is really big, and the other guy shows him like training all the time, and he just he just dissects them with his fists. He's so good. And I mean, I really think like the first prison, like they send all these guards after him, and it's like he lets them take him down, and then he decides he needs to beat more of them up to make sure, and he just gets up and starts beating the crap out of them again, and they really can't stop him.
Oh man!
And I really think he could have literally just punched every single guard out, and I mean he's like pretty good at getting guns away from people too. He does. I just think he could have literally punched his way out and then like killed all the cartel guys.
Does it explain how he's such a good fighter? Or is he's just good?
I mean, he says he like used to box, and he's like a big dude. Like
that's all you need.
Yeah, like when his girlfriend cheats on him, he decides to forgive her, but like to take it out on her, he like destroys her car with his bare hands. So he's like punching the headlights out and like ripping stuff off.
Wait, how does he get out of prison though to do that?
This is before he goes.
Oh, this is before.
Yeah, it starts out with him being a drug runner, and of course, the only reason he goes is because like some idiot cartel goon gets him in trouble.
Oh man, that's a shame.
But yeah, and in the end, it's like he's just. I mean, the one guy, it's like got just as much gore as Bone Tomahawk. He like stomps his head into like a watermelon, basically.
Ooh,
yeah.
All right, I gotta ask: is there any eye stuff?
I don't think there's any eye stuff, but there's some pretty rough stuff when he's like killing a gang.
I mean, I don't care. That rough stuff I can handle. Just as long as there's no needles in the frickin' eyes.
Yeah, there's
nothing
nothing
like that. All right. Is this on Netflix now?
I think I watched it on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Because I've been meaning. I did want to check that out. Is Vince Vaughn actually? So he's good in it?
Yeah, he's really good in it. I mean, it has really good dialogue too, like Bone Tomahawk had. Just kind of bothered me because I was like, this guy could literally just punch everyone to death and have no issues doing it.
So wait, does he gets killed at the end by the guards?
Yeah, he basically lets them kill him because he knows he's screwed.
So what's the tone of them? Is it kind of funny, or is it?
I mean, there's a little bit. It's like I guess like a grindhouse
dark
film.
Comedy, or
it's not really a comedy. There's a little humor in it. It's more like a like exploitation film, but it's like got a dark tone, but not overly dark.
Man, I kind of want to see this now. I'm pretty interested in this Bone Tomahawk director.
He's got another
movie. Two
movies
coming. Now. Yeah, I kind of want to follow him because I love Bone Tomahawk, and then if this one's good too, we'll have to keep track of what this guy's producing here.
Yeah, I would say he's a big up and comer.
Well, speaking of not up and comers, I did go see Spike Lee's Black Klansman.
How was that?
I really enjoyed it. It didn't even necessarily feel like a Spike Lee movie for, I would say, 95% of it. I mean, it's really just a well-told drama. There's two scenes that bookend the one at the beginning and one at the end that are very much Spike Lee. They're very in your face, angry, very political type stuff. But the rest of the movie, really well told drama. It's about a guy who infiltrates the Black Panthers and then infiltrates the Ku Klux Klan and kind of develops this ridiculous relationship with David Duke, who's played by Topher Grace. It's pretty good. So it's funny. I mean, there's some really tense scenes. The performances are great. I guess Denzel Washington's son, I can't remember his name, but he's the main guy, the main cop who does the infiltrating. He's really good. And what is that guy's? Adam Driver is like his cop who pretends to be him in real life because he is a white guy and joins the Ku Klux Klan. He's really good as well. And Topher Grace is actually really good as David Duke. Kind of a sort of a comedic performance, but it's mixed. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like Spike Lee. To me, this is not as political or in your face as something like Do the Right Thing. There's a couple of heavy-handed kind of not jokes, but comments made during the movie, but I don't know. I really enjoyed it, and I didn't mind the political stuff. I mean, I kind of know that's what I'm like getting into with a Spike Lee movie.
Yeah, how much was it like hitting you over the head or what?
Well, no, I wouldn't even. I mean, the ending is there's a montage that kind of connects the Ku Klux Klan to Charlottesville, which happened. There's sort of this montage of gangs, like I guess it's like news footage of brawls and stuff happening during that. But I didn't feel like the way it was done. I feel like it was done in a way that made sense, and what's depicted in the movie and the kind of unrest during that time period, I think fit that particular motif, and I didn't have issue with it. And other than that, it's mostly just a well-told drama. So the only disappointing thing, I haven't really looked too much into the true life story of this guy Ron Stallworth. He's the cop who did all the infiltrating, but the ending seemed a little anticlimactic. Not the ending with the montage, but there's kind of how everything wraps up with him getting out of the Klan. I thought was a little anticlimactic. I don't know if that's actually how it happened in real life, but it was just kind of like all this build up to this one moment, and then it just, I don't want to say it fizzles because it's an interesting scene, but it just wasn't quite what I was expecting. But other than that, and the score is really good too, kind of a 70s jazzy score. So yeah, I really liked it. I think I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 Spike Lee movies, but I definitely would recommend.
Yeah. What was I going to say? I guess David Duke, he never really served any significant prison time. Was he like the main antagonist or what?
Well, the main antagonist is mostly the local KKK group that he joins. So they're and all those guys were great performances too. There's one Klan member who's this kind of on the edge guy who kind of a wild card type personality. He was extremely good. I can't remember what actor played him, but they're sort of the main antagonists, and then basically Ron Stallworth, who's Denzel Washington's son, on the phone talks to all the guys and, you know, develops this really great relationship with the local Klan guys over the phone. And then Adam Driver meets them in person and keeps the act going. And because he's like a charismatic guy and, you know, just fits in really well. So his prominence rises within this local KKK community. And then because of that, he ends up talking to David Duke on the phone to get his membership to the KKK expedited, and then just sort of develops this phone relationship with him. And so yeah, David, I mean, he's probably the overarching villain, but it's more focused on the local group. But it's actually like played for comedy a lot of times because Ron Stallworth is having these, you know, mundane, ridiculous conversations with David Duke, and then David Duke will just mention, you know, and David Duke is portrayed as this really mild-mannered, kind of meek, jokey guy, but then he just says things in this Topher Grace voice, like, oh, you know, white people are gonna rule the world one day, blah, blah, blah. He's just doing it, and it's just in this Topher Grace little voice. It's like, it's pretty funny. So I liked it quite a bit. So saw that. How about you?
Well, I got a whole bunch of stuff on here. I actually need to try and remember if I talked about this one. I'm going to have to check because I'll talk about this one next move. But I don't remember if I talked about Cold in July. Did I?
No, but actually, I almost watched that the other day randomly. It was on, I can't remember if it was on Netflix or On Demand or something, but I've been meaning to watch that. I like Sam Shepard, and I almost threw it on. Was it good?
Oh man, it was amazing.
Really?
Well, the best part is
what's it about?
What?
What's it about?
It's like, well, it's like a 2-part movie. This guy breaks into what's the main character's the actor?
I
Guy
can't
from
remember. What's he in?
From Dexter.
Oh,
Michael C. Hall.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
it.
Anyway, so he breaks into his house and he ends up shooting him, and then Sam Shepard is the guy's father, and he basically starts harassing him because he's like on the edge, and then so then he finds out that it's not actually his son, it's just some other guy, and like turns out the police are in this whole conspiracy. So then Don Johnson shows up and he's like this private investigator.
I love Don Johnson. I wish he was in more stuff.
Yeah, he's so good in this. He's actually in Brawl and Cell Block 99 too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they all team up, and it turns out there's like this big snuff film ring, and like the ending is just I don't want to spoil it for you. It gets so good.
All right, I'll definitely have to check that out then.
Yeah, I liked it so much I like watched it again right after.
Oh man, all right. Well, that's
yeah.
I'm definitely gonna have to check this out then. When did this come out? Is this recent or I don't? I feel like I
think it was a few years ago. It says 2014.
I haven't really heard anything about it. I just every once in a while I'll like be on Letterboxd or something, and I'll come across it, and usually it gets well received. But I don't know why it didn't get more buzz.
Yeah, I think that right around the time it came out, I don't know, it just got swept under the rug. I guess it was kind of like an indie film, but man, it like I said, mainly the second half, it just gets amazing.
All right, I'm definitely checking it out. So I watched Clue, which I had actually never seen, so that was a first time watch for me.
Oh yeah.
I liked it. I mean, it was fun. I feel like it's definitely one of those movies where I'd probably like it more if I had seen it as a kid and had that nostalgic connection to it, but it was enjoyable. I mean, I think it's probably about as well as you can do for a game that is directly connected to a Parker Brothers board game. So
yeah, considering what the source material was, it's
yeah.
I mean, it's
yeah. I think for having that limitation placed upon it, I think it does a really good job, and I actually think all the characters, the way they're introduced and the framing device of it is pretty interesting. And Tim Curry is really good in it. I don't even know if that's a character in the game, but regardless, he's great. And it almost parts of it, especially the end, reminded me of kind of a farce type play, which is a lot of the stuff I end up doing is at my theater, like where he's running around and doing all this physical stuff and talking really fast and explaining these situations in a comedic way. So I liked it. I mean, it didn't blow me away or anything, but I thought some bits of it were cheesy and some stuff was dated. But other than that, I had a pretty good time with it.
I'm pretty sure I read that they would show different, because you know how they filmed like an ending for every character or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that I read they would show different endings at different theaters to try and get people to drive around to see each one, which like apparently backfired pretty bad, but it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty interesting. I didn't even think there might be a different cut of the movie that doesn't feature one of the endings, but yeah, I like that approach too. I thought that was pretty inventive. So yeah, and the score was really good too. So I liked it. I mean, not something I'm dying to rewatch anytime soon, but I had a good time with it, and I feel like that's one of those movies everybody should probably see at some point.
It's definitely a classic.
Yeah, it's good. What else you got?
I got a lot of stuff on here. This is one I can just kind of briefly touch on, The Aviator, which I've seen before, but I watched it again. And how do you feel about that one in like Scorsese's library of work?
I love it. I mean, I think it's a movie with flaws. I think it's bloated. It's really long. I think there are sections of it that drag, but it's up there for me. I'd say it's in the top 3 or 4. I just have a really good. I think it's epic, and obviously I love Leo. I think it's Leo's best performance with Scorsese, and just a lot of memorable moments. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it too. In fact, I really didn't think it was too long. I just thought, I don't know, I feel like it just kind of falls short of greatness, and I'm not even sure why, honestly.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it is great, but
well, I mean, it's great. Falls short of perfection is what I mean.
But yeah, I even think it's close to perfect. But I think objectively, if I was to kind of take a look at it, I think the flow of it isn't quite as clean as something like Goodfellas or those kind of movies just literally glide along so perfectly. And I think Aviator I think there are just times when it might drag a little bit. Like, I'm still enjoying everything that I'm seeing, but I don't think it's quite as fluid as something like Goodfellas. But I love it. I mean, it's one of my favorites of his, and I think Leo is awesome in it. Again, I don't know who won the Oscar at that year, but I feel like I'd probably put Leo ahead of whoever it was.
I'm pretty sure I checked, and it made me mad whoever won over him.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely one of those times. So I think he's great. I think what is her name? Kate Beckinsale's really good. Who is she? Ava Gardner, is that her name? Which is one of those old movie stars. I think she's really good. Alec Baldwin's good. I think everybody's just good.
Yeah. What's her name is really good. I think she might have won. Kate Blanchett.
Oh yeah, Kate Blanchett is Katharine Hepburn. She's great. Yeah, just delightful. I watched Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon with Jessa. She had never seen it, and I love that movie. She enjoyed it as well. It always gets, I think, referenced for the fighting and the choreography, which I think is amazing, but I think the story in it is just great too. I think the performances, Michelle Yeoh and Chow Yun-fat are all great, and I think the story itself is just really interesting as a love story. It's poetic, if I could say that, and yeah, I hadn't seen it in a number of years, and I just love it. I love it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that probably since I was a kid.
Yeah, you should check it out again. But the fighting is great. I mean, I guess you have to. I can see someone not being into that. You do have to be accepting of that. It's so over the top and almost not Matrixy, but it almost feels like it's creating its own unique fighting style, like something like the Matrix, and it just really works for the movie. And yeah, it's good. And there's some really standout scenes. Particularly, there's one fight scene with I can't remember the main actress's name. Whatever. I can't remember what her name is. But her and Michelle Yeoh had this fight in this this kind of like dojo where the one girl has this sword called the Green Destiny, which Chow Yun-fat's character had. But then she steals it, and she's fighting Michelle Yeoh, who's using all these different weapons because they're getting broken by the sword. And it's a great scene. So love that movie. And that is it for me as far as things I've watched.
Yeah, so
searching.
So real quick, I just looked up who won the Oscar that year.
Yeah,
it was actually Jamie Foxx, which I haven't seen, for Ray, which I haven't seen.
I haven't seen it, to be fair, but man,
that was actually a pretty good year because Don Cheadle was up that year, and Don Cheadle's really good in Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah, he is really good in that. I could see him winning too. I almost feel like. I don't know. Sometimes it just annoys me when actors win for biopics like Ray or I don't know. It's like, not that it's, and even Gary Oldman in Darkest Hour, it just feels so obvious that, it's not that I don't believe those performances are great in their own way, but I don't know. Sometimes it just annoys me. It's like, oh, well, of course they're going to win for the really epic biopic. I'd like to. Then again, I guess you could say that for Aviator.
I was about to say,
too,
I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, the Aviator I would not put in the same category as Ray. Or Hotel Rwanda, just because it's way more like Goodfellas than it is like a biopic, but it is a biopic.
Yeah, it is, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because Scorsese directed it and it feels so much like its own thing that it doesn't. I don't know. And it's not even fair to say because I haven't seen Ray, but I just have this impression in my mind that it's just a really cookie cutter biopic, and I associate it with movies like Darkest Hour, and I don't know. It's probably not fair of me to do, but I wanted Leo to win that year.
I also will say that $1 Million Baby won Best Picture that year, and The Aviator definitely should have won over that because I just watched $1 Million Baby.
I haven't even seen $1 Million Baby, but it just seems boring. I don't know if
it was a lot better than I thought, and I will say that Hilary Swank gave like the performance of a lifetime in it. She was amazing in it.
That's your female doppelganger.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Who else is Morgan Freeman in that?
Yeah, he got nominated for his role. He won for that.
Oh, he won. Man,
they were just doling out awards to that. I mean, it was a really good movie, and it was not what I expected. It was way more like epic in scope than I expected.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out at some point. It's really long though, isn't it? It's a super long movie too, right?
Yeah, it's pretty long. And it definitely drags a little in the beginning, and then it starts to pick up when her boxing career picks up, and then obviously she, spoiler alert, becomes a quadriplegic.
Oh. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know if you knew that. Somebody spoiled that for me
not.
like the day after it came out.
I didn't know that, but I don't care.
Yeah, I mean that's like what the last third of the movie's about, her trying to like kind of overcome the fact that she's not going to be able to move.
Yeah, is that based on a true story or
no? In fact, apparently a lot of people, I think that would be less well received today because a lot of people think it's a really manipulative film because it does that to you, like pulls the freaking rug out from under you.
Yeah, it's one of those things where if it's not actually based on something true, it's like, man, that does feel a little manipulative to pull that kind of move. I feel like that would garner a lot of sympathy from just out of thin air. But I mean, I guess if it's well done,
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty well done, and it definitely, Hilary Swank again just blows it out of the water.
She kind of fell off the face of the earth. I don't even know what is she doing now? I feel like I haven't seen her. She was like a big star in the 2000s. I feel like I haven't seen her in anything in years.
Well, that's what Hollywood does to women, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess so.
I guess 40 or whatever.
Now she's over 30, so it's like, unless we have a mom or a, older woman role for you to play, we're just gonna throw you to cash aside.
Yeah, and then the best part is that they give like every single good role to Meryl Streep. That's something that makes me really mad.
Yeah, she really does get them all.
She gets every one of them. It's like maybe you should try sharing a little bit.
Share the load,
because there's not a whole lot to go around. It's kind of a bad thing. No, it's not just kind of. I mean, it's terrible because a lot of good actresses. Yeah. But then I think also it kind of has weeded out a lot of bad actresses that were just kind of like a star for their time, and it's like, okay, we just realized you have no talent.
I guess that's true. All right, you got anything else? Or
let me just talk about one more real quick. Have you seen this movie Mississippi Grind?
No, but I saw it's on Netflix. I kind of want to. I like Ben Mendelsohn, so I want to check that out too.
You definitely should check that one out. It seems like it's made for like movie.
I'm a sucker for gambling stuff too. So are they playing Texas Hold'em in that?
They play all kinds of stuff. The whole thing is like, yeah, I think they play Hold'em when they meet. I'm trying to remember. I think that they mostly bet on races, and then I can't remember. They go on like a hot streak, and I forgot what game it is. But basically, like the way they meet is so weird. Like Ryan Reynolds just decides to like befriend Ben Mendelsohn at a poker table, and then they just like randomly start gambling together. I guess gamblers kind of like stick together or something.
I guess so. Maybe because
they're so superstitious.
Yeah, kind of. Is it anything like Rounders or?
I haven't seen Rounders in so long. But this is what really about a character study. It's like really understated.
Yeah. So was it any good or?
I liked it. I didn't love it, but I thought I was gonna like it more than I did because I love Ben Mendelsohn and I like Ryan Reynolds. But it was good. It definitely. And also I like the ending a lot. It didn't go the way I thought it was gonna go.
Yeah, a lot of gambling movies kind of end the same way, but I'll have to check that out. I like Ben Mendelsohn a lot. I'm kind of annoyed at what is happening to his career, though. I feel like he's just like standard bad guy in every movie now, and it's getting a little bit annoying. Like, I mean, he's good at being the bad guy, but I want more movies like that, even though I haven't seen it, where he plays just a multifaceted character rather than yeah, it just feels like every movie now, it's like, okay, we need a bad guy. Let's call it Ben Mendelsohn. We'll put him in there.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's doing them because he's probably making a lot of money and his star is growing. But I mean, he excels in roles like, the everyman.
He does. And it's just, Rogue One and now Ready Player One. It's just like, okay, we just need... And I actually liked him in both those movies, but it's just annoying to see him. I feel like he's just being typecast into that, okay, we just need a cliche villain. Let's just... get him in there.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. And it's like, I feel like at this stage in his career, he should be like knocking out,
Yeah, and I mean, especially earlier in his career, like Place Beyond the Pines, he's so good in, and he's such a talented actor. I want to see him do more stuff.
Yeah.
Rather than just villains, but... All right, anything else? Or you've been watching that show?
Save the rest for later, because I got a lot more.
Okay, we'll get into some more stuff next episode, but... All right, let's move into some news. You want to set us up for this, Dave? It's centering on First Man and some kind of flag controversy we have cooking here.
Yeah, so there's been a little development. Mainly, apparently what happened was, I guess Marco Rubio or somebody pointed this out. There's no like shot of them planting the flag on the moon in First Man. And, a lot of people, I think, are rightly upset because I think that's one of the most iconic images of all time. And if you're making a movie about the moon landing... them putting the flag on the moon. And apparently he came out and said that there are shots of the flag on the moon, but there's just no scene of them setting it up. And then, it started like a big fight. And, Ryan Gosling came out and basically said that he views the moon landing as a human accomplishment and not an American accomplishment. And then this is funny. This isn't getting much coverage. Buzz Aldrin basically came out and said he's proud to be an American. And he posted like a picture of the flag being planted. So, I think calling it a human accomplishment is really kind of does a disservice to the fact that it was literally called the space race and Americans won. So
yeah, I don't know. I personally don't really care that it's not. I feel like this is is this something that's really gaining a lot of
no, I think this is mostly
controversy. This
is going to blow over mostly. I think that it's not a big deal, but I do think it's
a
little ridiculous to like cut out such an iconic. I mean, that's put the flag on the moon. I mean, that's like as big as the freaking taking the first steps almost.
Yeah, well, I read that article though, and apparently, Neil Armstrong said it was like he didn't even really care that much about the fact that it was that he needed to plant the flag. So I mean, I just don't particularly care. I mean, I'd be fine if they had it in there, but especially since they show it in the ground, or I personally could not care less that they actually show him putting it in the ground. I think the fact that it's on the moon and you see the US flag, to me, I feel like that already kind of says that, hey, the US is the country that did this. But I mean, it is a human accomplishment as well. I mean, the fact that we beat the Russians to it is great, but I think it was,
for me, it's not something that like transcends borders, because we were literally competing against other countries to do it. It's not like the Russians and like the rest of the world came together to put a man on the moon. It was like, we're gonna do it before you can and show that we did it. So I don't like the idea of calling it a human accomplishment. It is an American accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Not something that bothers me, but
I mean, I don't think it's a huge deal. I think it's a little funny. I mean,
I think it would be different if they, a lot worse if they left it, if they changed the story somehow to, so it wasn't the U.S. flag, or if they totally left that out of the movie, or if they, made it into something else. But I think for me, just not showing the scene of him actually planning it, that does not affect me at all. But I don't know.
I don't think it's really a major but the fact that Buzz Aldrin chimed in, he clearly didn't agree with he was there. I mean, I watched the video of them trying to set the flag up, and they're like trying to figure out how the flag works in low gravity and stuff. I think it could have been interesting. But yeah, I mean, we'll see too, because I wonder if they're going to go back and edit it at all to get the flag in more shots. I doubt it this late, but because I mean, if the flag is like barely in the film at all, I feel like that would probably be an attempt at revisionist history. But if the flag is there, it just doesn't show them setting it up, then it's like, it was just an artistic choice.
Yeah, you can't have revisionist history and not have it there. I mean, I'm fine with it being more understated. I mean, I think if it's too in your face about it, I think there's a way to do that where it could be cheesy or bad if it's, obviously America did it, but if it had, a lot of close-ups of the flag, or, he plants it in the ground in like some really over-the-top way or something, I think that could detract from it. But I think as long as it's there and you see it, that iconic image, I think that I'm fine with that. But
yeah, that's why I'm curious to see.
I think it's a thin line to tread, because I think if you focus on it too much, I think that could be an issue in the opposite direction of seeming cheesy, or I always think of, it's a totally different movie and a totally different genre, but like Spider-Man, where like he lands in front of the flag and it's like in the background there, like it totally works for that movie because it's Spider-Man's an American superhero that was created, and the tone of that movie fitted. I think with this movie, which is clearly a more understated, quote unquote serious movie, I think it's just, you kind of have to find that balance between having it in there and not, punching you in the face with, so it just, I think we'll just have to see the movie and see how it's done.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
but
I seriously doubt, based on the trailers, that this movie is going to hit you over the head with patriotism.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a good thing, but
yeah, but I also wouldn't want it to be like, like I said, them trying to kind of roll it back and be like, portray it in a way that it didn't really happen, which I don't think they're going to do, but we'll see.
We'll see. Well, we're definitely gonna be reviewing that movie on the show. I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, we're doing this one.
For sure, we're doing it. I gotta say though, I think it looks really good. The movie as a whole.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm on board.
The buzz is
I'm
already
on board
that
for it.
Gosling is gonna win.
I hope so. That would be great for me though. I don't know. I'm just excited. We'll see what happens. But all right, should we get on to this review?
Yeah, we've been going at this for a while, so let's get into this.
All right, we're reviewing Searching, directed by someone I can't remember.
Anish Changati. I hope I pronounced that right.
Okay, and starring John Cho. And all right, how much of a whatever synopsis you want to give, Dave? You're up.
Yeah, I'll do a short one. So if you saw the trailer, the entire film is basically portrayed through like FaceTime. Mostly, it's through John Cho is on screen. He's like at a computer because he spends. So his daughter. What's her name? Margot.
Margot.
So first we find out, actually, I really love the beginning with all the nostalgia. His wife dies of lymphoma, and then this is like 2 years after that. His wife's name was Pam, and his daughter Margot tells him that she's going to be at a study group late, and that night she tries calling him a few times, and then the next morning he tries calling her back. She won't answer. First, he calls some of her friends because, he talks to his brother and he's like, well, does she have any friends? And he's like, yeah, I know them, but he doesn't know them. And he talks to one kid who used to be her friend in elementary school and talks to her mother. And she says she's pretty sure she's on a camping trip, but turns out she wasn't. So then he files a missing persons report, and Deborah Messing plays, I think her character's name is Vickers or something.
Yeah, I can't. Is it Rose or something? Rosemary?
Yeah, Rosemary. That sounds right. Vic.
Something.
Yeah, Rosemary Vic. Yeah. So she calls him. She never shows up because it's all and tells him that they're going to be investigating this, but she wants him to help. And so he goes and finds her laptop, which she left, opens it up, and gets in there. It's kind of funny how he cracks into her Facebook by like going through all these different emails to finally get into it. He starts.
I actually really like that part. I thought that was really.
It's definitely very realistic.
It was very realistic the way that was done, and I found that really interesting. But
yeah, so he goes through there. He starts messaging all her friends. Finds out she didn't have any friends really, and then he like goes through her history and he finds out that she had not been going to her piano lessons and she'd just been pocketing the $100 a week. Then she goes to this website called Ucast. I don't know if that one's real or not. I don't think it is.
I don't think so, but I'm not totally.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of these websites, like the Memorial one, were fake. I think. Yeah. Anyway, he goes on there and finds that she was like it was just a website to stream, like vlog, and she was talking to one girl in Pittsburgh a lot. So the detective Rosemary looks into that, says she called. And this is some fine detective work. We find out. The woman's manager and found out she was working that night, which is not how you would follow that lead up at all, but we find out why later on. So then he keeps digging deeper. Then he suspects his brother because they have some weird messages up between them, and it turns out he was just giving her weed. Then they finally they find her car, and then a guy confesses. But of course, it wasn't really him. And let me think. And then he basically he finds out it was the detective the whole time, covered up the murder because her son, the weird white kid, was stalking her and pretending to be someone online and ended up pushing her into a ravine. And then also turns out she's alive somehow.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, as you can tell, kind of ran out of steam, just like this movie did, because it was just twist after twist after twist at the end of the film.
So, what did you think as a whole, overall? Did you like it?
I love the beginning, and I would say up until when they found her car, I was really into it. But then I feel like the gimmick started to lose steam a little bit, which is why I think they knew that too, and they started switching over to the news reports and stuff.
Yeah.
And then once I think they got to the part where the guy confessed and you knew that it was fake, that was where it started to lose me. I was like, all right, this film is really starting to beat a dead horse. And it got really predictable, which I didn't like.
Yeah, I liked it overall. It's something I was tentative going into because I'm not really a fan of the framing device of this movie. I've movies that are totally centered around this online presence are not my favorite kind of movies. It just feels like it's very limiting, but I feel like the way it's done in this is actually really, I think it's well executed. I think the performances are good. Visually, I think it's a little limited because you don't get to see, I don't think a movie like this necessarily has the ability to have the visuals of a different kind of movie, but I think for the most part it looks pretty good, and I liked it. The ending I don't think it bothered me as much as you, but I wasn't super crazy about it. And I think some parts were predictable, others not as much, but yeah, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I think it was better than I expected. I think there are other certain things that annoyed me, but all right, what should we get into first? One thing I'll bring up. I was talking to Jess about this. It didn't annoy me per se, but and again, part of this is because of the framing device. It kind of limits things, and you have to follow it. But I don't know. Maybe I guess I just couldn't relate to it. But it felt like early on in the movie, and you kind of get used to, I think it made more sense after the investigation itself was underway, but it just felt like he is on the computer so much, and he is doing just so much of his life is centered around this
that
online
was definitely
presence. I was talking to Jessa, and she said there are people like that just live like their whole life is organized online. I mean, I guess that's true, but I couldn't relate to that at all, and I found it a little annoying because he's just doing everything online. He's always FaceTiming somebody. He's, has so many folders with like all of these videos in it, or
the address book. That bothered me.
Yeah, the address book is online. He has all these calendars with like events listed that are always popping up. It just felt like, and I mean, again, that's the framing of the movie is centered around that, so I can't criticize it too much. But it was. I think I had more trouble getting into the movie because of that. It's not that I didn't like the beginning, but I was just like, man, this guy is living on his computer. And I am someone who does not live on my computer by any means in terms of like I'm surfing the internet all the time, but in terms of living my life through apps and all things like that and social media, it just was, I just could not relate to it at all. And it dragged a little bit for me at the beginning. I think once the investigation was underway and he was, particularly the scene where he is trying to get his daughter's passwords for Facebook and UCAS and all this stuff, I found that stuff really interesting. And I feel like that was more realistic because I feel like at that point he would be on the computer all the time trying to, get information. But up to that point of her daughter's disappearance, I found it just like, man, this guy is doing so much stuff on the computer that it's annoying.
Yeah, I mean, there was like... Just especially, I thought it was funny how it was Windows XP and then they moved on to the Mac. I also thought it was funny that Pam apparently, because it was Pam's computer, was still using like Windows XP because she died in like 2014 or 15. But for some reason, she was still using that Windows XP computer. But yeah, I mean, it was like she was using the address book. They were emailing each other. And it was like, okay, we do all this stuff. But I mean, and obviously this was a limitation. Like, they had to tell things through the computer, so they put their entire lives on that computer.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it's part of the framing device, but I think that just highlights why I'm not a big fan of that framing device. And this movie does it well, but it's still just annoying to me when it's like everything has to be communicated to the audience through FaceTime or emails or a calendar coming up or
the calendar
some kind of
nuts.
Yeah, some kind of app that's on your computer, and he has all these recipes for all these dishes he's making on the computer, and when he talks to his brother, it has to be on it annoyed me that everybody was always FaceTiming him. I'm like, I guess there are people that do this, but those people annoy me because I don't do this, and I would never do this, and it bothers me that these characters do. But again, yeah, it's not a super big deal. It's more of a nitpick for me, but again, I think it just kind of highlights my general distaste for these kinds of movies. But that being said, I do think this one did it well, and I'm glad that it didn't take too long to get into the investigation, and because I feel like that at that point it justified the time spent on the computer a lot more. So it's kind of like a found footage movie or something where you just have this overarching framing device that just, I feel like it's limiting. And I mean, it can be done really well in certain found footage movies, but And I think this is a good example of using that internet framing device, but it's just not usually my favorite kind of movies. And there were moments in this, especially early on, where it annoyed me.
Yeah. I think he got pretty much everything you can get out of this in this film. I don't think anybody can do anything more, really.
No, I don't think so. And I think at least he tried to keep it varied. And I think especially once the investigation began, like the daughter having all those social media accounts, I think made more sense. And I like how they went on Tumblr and were reading her posts, and then they went on that UCast. And the other thing I really liked about the movie, I think in some parts it was predictable. Other parts, I think one big thing, I like how and obviously we've already spoiled the whole movies, but the daughter isn't like some, doesn't have some super dark past or super, it's not like she was doing anything that bad online. I thought the trailers and the marketing for this suggest that the daughter is, I thought she was going to be involved in like sex trafficking or, some kind of drug empire or something like that. And the marketing would lead you to believe that. And I think the fact that she was just kind of swindled and ended up being a pretty good kid, I think was interesting because the movie, I feel like, definitely does not lead you to believe that's the direction it's going in. So I thought that was kind of good.
That was actually a complaint of mine. It's like, I feel like this movie, it's just like, it doesn't lie to you, but it almost does lie to you. And it's like, it was a manipulative film. Like, it feels like it's, constantly trying to like drag your emotions in one direction. Like, like here's some whiplash. Turns out it was the detective the whole time. Like, I think they just did way too many rapid fire twists, and I feel like they were trying to tell you what to feel near the end, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely got that way toward the end because there were the last like 30 minutes or so. There are 3 or 4 big twists that happen one after another, but I just think it was interesting because I feel like I've seen movies like this or even stories where, it turns out that the character involved in this is into some really dark shit and is, involved in all kinds of this and that. And I think it's interesting that despite all the potential paths that could have sent her down that way, that she didn't end up being some, hardened criminal living this total other secret life under her dad's nose. I think it, and again, the movie does point you in that direction, I guess pulls the rug out from under you, but I thought it was done in a way that I was okay with. And I've seen that story a lot before where that character is involved in all that stuff that I found that refreshing. Yeah, I guess we can get into the ending. I gotta say, I didn't see some of it coming. I didn't. Did you totally call the end?
So here's the thing. When I didn't see the thing with the uncle, but after that, and when he gets the text message that says we got him, I don't know what you thought there, but I was like, all right, obviously they didn't get him. And then it's like, it was very obvious that the car was staged, that whole thing, like where they found a little bit of blood. So
yeah.
And then it's like, I didn't know that it was going to be the detective, but also there was a lot of foreshadowing to this. And then when the guy confessed, that was like, okay, definitely knew that wasn't going to be legit either.
I think the biggest thing I picked up on was the conversation with Fish and Chips, the UCast user. Like I immediately, that's the thing that tipped me off. I was like, that is not even like the way that image that next to the avatar of Fish and Chips totally looked like a stock photo. I thought that was so obvious. Like, it did not look like a real person at all, or like someone who's, an actual avatar. And then even the way that they communicated with each other, where the Fish and Chips user is like, favorite Pokemon and why, like that conversation did not fit that image at all. And so I immediately was suspecting something there, but I didn't know that it would be the detective and her son that were, kind of involved in it. And I don't know. I mean, I thought that was somewhat interesting, that whole, I think it at least makes the detective a somewhat compelling character because you can kind of understand, despite her being a villain overall, I think you can somewhat understand her desire to protect her son. So I think that makes some sense. I think it's a little crazy that the girl survived for whatever it was, 5 days.
That was almost like a cop-out to me. Like, she wouldn't have survived that ordeal. And it's like, you need to stick to your guns. Either she died and it's sad, or, oh, wait, she's actually alive. You can be happy again.
Yeah, I think that ending, I think that was probably the most manipulative part for me. So part of me liked that she survived because I did like that character and obviously didn't want to see her die, but it did feel like I was being manipulated into that response because it just felt too glossed over. Like, oh, she's down at the bottom of the hill. She is alive. Like, she's good. Like,
yeah,
and then the fact that they had
rained. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
she like would have broken her neck falling 50 feet.
Yeah, and it's like I get that they mentioned that earlier in the movie, like the big storm happened, but it just felt really weird to me. I mean, what was she like, just leaning over and drinking the rainwater as it fell down? And I mean, I don't know, her being at the bottom there with who knows how many broken bones for 5 days, it just felt a little bit sensationalized that she was just, and it just felt hurried, like everybody's rushing to the scene, like they found her, she's alive, and then
I think that they knew that film was already pushing its running time. It wasn't long, but I think that they knew that they were pushing it to the limit.
Yeah, and it just felt like everything. I found the detective twist to be fairly interesting, but I feel like everything after that and the way that that's resolved, it just felt really rushed. And like, you know, people are rushing to the scene. They found her, movie's over. And, you know, it just felt like they didn't really know how to end it. So we're just going to have it be a happy ending where the girl survives, like, and then we're getting you out of here. It's like they saved up all their cards to have that twist ending with Deborah Messing's character and didn't really think about the follow up to that. So part of me I found it okay. I don't think I didn't bother me all that much because I was happy to see a happy ending. Like I liked the character and I liked the relationship between the daughter and her dad. I thought it was interesting, and you know that they had this sort of love for each other, but also weren't super close either. I thought that was interesting. So I wanted that to go on. And I think the way they handled the fact that they lost their connection because they couldn't talk about the mom, I thought that was fine. But I agree. I thought the way the ending was just too rushed for me.
Honestly, I feel like this had some plot holes, and especially, I mean, watching it, like the main thing was like, okay, so they think that she's communicating with this girl in Pittsburgh, and it's possible she drove to Pittsburgh to meet her, and the detective's way of investigating that is by calling the woman and talking to her manager. And it's like, clearly if you think that, you know, she went there, then it's like there's so many reasons why you would need to go there in person. Like she could have driven there and not met the person, or the person could just lie to you over the phone. And then we find out the reason she, you know, did such a poor follow-up is just because she was like covering her tracks. But that leads me to like this other thing. It's like, that basically implies, because she said her forensics team never actually had the computer. So this detective, even though we saw there were other cops, I guess she just had zero oversight and was just going, you know, doing whatever she wanted.
Yeah, it's like, didn't the detective have anybody else that was like on the case with her? Because
yeah, this was like a national news thing.
I feel like if this story was that big of a deal that they make it in the movie, it's like a national news story. I feel like there would have been other people involved on the case that would have pressed her when she said, "Oh, we're not going to follow up on," because I feel like that fish and chips lead would be pretty big in this case, and I feel like there would be other forces there to kind of push her a bit into following up on that, whereas the movie just paints it like, oh, she just has full command of everything and what she says goes.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume she would have flown out there. At least she would have had local PD, and maybe she could have said that and that would have been okay, but she literally just said, oh, I called her manager and she was working that night. Like, that doesn't make sense.
And I think as devoted and almost obsessed with the case as John Cho's character was, understandably, I feel like he wouldn't have let that go so easily either.
Yeah, I know. He literally was fine with that being swept under the rug.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of a director's trick where there's so much else going on in the movie that, and even I admit, I kind of let it go while I was watching it because so much else was happening. I was like, oh, okay, that, you know, I sort of made a note like, hey, that's a little fishy, but I was willing to go along with it because there was so much else happening. I think it was sort of a sleight of hand by the director there, but yeah, looking back, I think that was glossed over too easily. And I think there are other things that happened that Jessa was saying that I agree with also. Like the detective seemed way too emotionally invested at certain parts too. Like, and I think those are breadcrumbs as well. Like when she gets super upset at her son for kind of coming in the room for a second, and she's also mentioning all this stuff about, you know, a mother. I was drawn to your case because of a parent's love for their child. That will just go.
Yeah, that was so blunt to me. It drove me nuts.
Yeah, that was a little over the top for me too. So
Like, I really hated, one of my least favorite scenes was when he Googled the police officer, and then he looked at her Facebook page and it said, like, a mother's love for her son is sacred or whatever. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Get out of my face with this crap.
I wonder if she updated that as her little status after her son was implicated in this.
I feel like the director felt that if he foreshadowed something, he could just do whatever he wanted. But, you know, that doesn't make the twist any less stupid.
Yeah. But I will say, I was still engaged throughout the whole movie. I found it interesting and generally enjoyed it. I thought John Cho was really good too, which I wasn't so sure how I was going to like him in this, and I thought his performance was really good. And,
I thought it was interesting that I thought he gave a good performance, but I actually didn't think his character had much development at all.
Yeah, I mean, how so?
Well, I mean, it's just like, the only thing we knew about his character was that, like, he missed his wife and he had a rough relationship with his daughter. I mean, literally, we knew nothing else about his personality. It's almost like his entire character was shaped around his relationship with his daughter, and I feel like it just wasn't a developed character.
Yeah, I mean, they do some tricks to kind of hurry you along, like at the beginning with him watching all those videos of his relationship with the, you know, home movies of the family doing stuff, and I think they kind of build that foundation based on those early sections of the movie, because the rest of it is mostly concentrated on, you know, in the moment events happening you don't get a chance to see. And that's also another limitation of the framing device, because you can't, you know, all you're seeing of John Cho is what he's doing on the computer. It's not like you know, could have a scene with him out with friends or, you know, doing other stuff, or at least, I don't, you know, it'd be a lot harder to do that because they would have to be on the computer at the time. But I still felt like I got a sense of his character. I know it's not super developed, but I still found him to be likable, and I bought his love for his daughter, and I feel like that's one of the critical things, is you have to believe that this guy really loves his daughter, and I mean, I did believe that, but it's true. They don't focus a lot on any of the characters. I think the writing was, again, just a little bit limited by the framing device, but what are you going to do? I mean, I guess there's a better way to do it, but...
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that the writing was a major weakness in general for me.
Yeah, I was fine with it, but I think it definitely could have been better, but, you know, hey.
I think some of the dialogue and some of the conversations they would have, especially when they were, like, chatting online, I feel like some of their conversations felt really unnatural.
I think, for me, it worked. Like, I felt like it kind of went along that awkwardness that a dad might have with his teenage daughter, especially if they've been through a tragedy. You know, there was kind of that formality to some of the way they talked, and that awkwardness and that reluctance to speak to one another. I totally, that worked for me. I thought it made sense. I thought the brother character was fairly interesting too. He almost had, I actually suspected him too. I thought it was going to go in that direction not too long into the movie, because he just had a slightly unnatural air to him, or he just seemed like too nice or something. I thought they were going to go hardcore in the direction that the brother did something, and I think it's somewhat interesting that they went away from that, because they definitely lead you to believe that that's going to be the guy who did it. But
yeah, I think I would have liked it better if they stuck with that, like with one twist, because I don't know, I feel like that would have been something I would not have seen coming, and I think it would have been really interesting. It would have matched up with the plot, but it's like, it seemed like they wanted to be like, no, we need to feed you with a couple more twists before we give you the real answer.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. All right, anything else you want to...
This is one thing I want to talk about. I'm not really sure if you could call it product placement, because I don't know if they were getting paid necessarily, but man, it was like nauseating with all of the Apple crap going on. And it was like, I get that they used iPhones and Macs and stuff, but it just felt like I got so sick of seeing FaceTime and the Apple logo, and it just felt like, I guess it was all about authenticity, but man, it felt like it was a freaking sledgehammer.
Yeah, I agree. That just the overuse of those things in general annoyed me, especially early in the movie. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe Apple was on the fundraising board for this movie.
I don't know if they got paid to put that in there or what, but I mean, and like I said, it does make it more authentic, but man, I got really tired of seeing Apple and Gmail and stuff constantly.
Yeah, it really is just constant. I mean, there's so many uses of that it just it got so old. Like every other
really
second.
Did.
I mean, does anybody actually FaceTime that much? I mean, they are FaceTiming constantly.
And I know younger people like to FaceTime, but I mean, like the adults were FaceTiming each other 24/7 too. Evie's FaceTiming the detective.
Yeah, that's another thing that I question. I was like, would the detective and the guy and the victim really be FaceTiming that much? I mean, they are always like FaceTime. It almost felt like that was too personal of a way to communicate, especially like consistently like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna FaceTime you, and they were wherever they were, and it just felt weird. I don't know. And even when you saw the FaceTime logs, I mean, he is on FaceTime like 50 times.
Yeah, I know.
A day.
You can see him FaceTiming everybody.
Constantly. And I was just like, it just felt unrealistic to me. Maybe there are people like that, but it just, the amount of time that he is FaceTiming other people just felt weird to me, and it got on my nerves.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad I wasn't the only one. And that's why, I think that some of the websites they used were fake. Or like with Venmo, it was only a minor plot point. But, then other times it's like, all right, I really need to stop seeing this Apple logo or FaceTime.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I'm really sick of seeing that popping up every 2 seconds. Yeah, you got anything else?
No, I mean, I thought the beginning with all like the nostalgia where he was like going to addicting games and stuff, that was pretty funny.
That was good. I did like the addicting game. I've totally been there. I thought there were some nice touches.
Yeah.
Because I definitely used to frequent addictinggames.com, so that was a fun little thing. And yeah, I liked a lot of little things like that in this movie. I think it did I don't have any other ones off the top of my head, but I felt like overall I was engaged in this movie, and I was expecting to really, really hate it. I mean, I definitely had issues with it, but and I think the other thing about this movie, it's not a movie that it really stays with me. I mean, I saw it 2 or 3 days ago now, and it's already kind of leaving my mind. But while I was watching it, I was entertained, and I thought it was pretty good. So that's more than I can say about a lot of movies. I think.
Yeah, it really held my attention up until I don't know, maybe like an hour in or something, and then that's when it started to falter.
And I definitely think it had some interesting criticisms of social media, like especially where once the disappearance happened and it became a national news story, how all her friends, or not even her friends, all her acquaintances at school were making these emotional videos about it, and how much they missed her. I thought that was kind of an interesting criticism of social media, and I'm sure I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, it was interesting how it kind of touched on those subjects, but it was really, just like a light brush, which, I mean, I don't blame them, but it was interesting. It was like, you almost thought it was going to go in that direction at that point, and then it kind of went back.
Yeah, I kind of wanted it to do something like that and really have some commentary. And I mean, it's still there, but it is just, 2 minutes of this kind of stuff, and then it's back to the plot. So, I mean, it's definitely a movie that is a slave to its plot.
Yeah.
And for better or for worse. All right, any final thoughts? Want to rate this?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I actually think I could have more to say, but really I said enough. The twist, I mean, up until the twist, I liked a lot. And I think that also, if you strip away the gimmick, that it was a weak plot with some weak dialogue at points.
Yeah. All right, what are you going to give it out of 10?
I'm going right down the middle. I'm going to go 5 out of 10.
Yeah, okay. I'm between a 7 and a 7.5. I'm going to go 7.
We weren't too far apart.
So I enjoyed it. No, not too far. I liked it. I thought it was fun. All right. I guess that about wraps up episode number 32. So thank you for listening, everybody. Follow us on all our social media at critics on Twitter, and Serious Film Critics on Facebook, and send us your emails to seriousfilmcritics@gmail.com, and we'll be back for another episode soon. I don't know what we're going to review next. I know we really want to see that movie Mandy when that comes out. Oh, yeah.
I think that comes out in October, maybe.
Well, apparently it's released in September 14th.
Oh, man. Well, that might be the next one we do.
It could be the next one we do if we can find a theater that's playing it. I got to say, I'm curious about the new Predator movie, too. I don't know if it's going to be any good, but I do like, not Alien versus Predator, but besides that, I do like the Predator franchise. So I'm kind of curious to see where that goes, especially since Shane Black, who did The Nice Guys and some of those other 80s classics is attached to it. So I kind of want to see that too, but we'll be back with another good episode soon. So just hold tight, everybody. And all right, Dave, see you next time. Bye.